first glimpse of the new urban garden at the Natural History Museum. Let's turn now to one of the most visited attractions in the country, the Natural History Museum. And now, for the first time, its garden is taking centre stage after a 2-year redevelopment. The space, which will act as a living laboratory, will help scientists understand the impact of urban life on the natural world. We can bring it to you ahead of its opening to the public on Thursday, as Alice Bandakravi has been to see it.
For the longest time, this area was mostly a lawn outside the Natural History Museum, but now this reimagined garden is part of the work that the Natural History Museum does. We're in a very busy part of town, in the museum quarter here in South Kensington, next to a very busy Cromwell Road. But now this garden is something of a natural sanctuary, a place that scientists will be monitoring very closely, and a place that helps to tell the story of our planet.
The brief was to depict the timeline of evolution in garden form, and this is the result, from what they call deep time to the modern day.
So Keith, this is where the public will arrive from the tube station into this part of the evolution garden.
So this space, as you say, where visitors arrive, is where life began on the planet. So prior to here, there was no life on the planet. It was a dead rock. But life began to seed here. And as people walk through the garden, they'll see that it bursts into life. And we've got these coal forest representation here. And as we make our way through the garden, every step represents 5 million years of history.
It's a really long walk.
So we've now walked about 30 million years already just since we've been talking.
Now, the Diplodocus is what people know the Natural History Museum for. This is a brand new one.
This is a brand new one. It's cast in bronze and it's going to be out here in all weathers. So it's absolutely fantastic achievement to get that made.
And that's obviously part of the age of the dinosaur that we've arrived at.
Yeah, so we're in dinosaur age now, so Jurassic and Triassic and Cretaceous and those periods that people will know from their dinosaur studies. And then all of a sudden, the extinction event happens, the asteroid hits, and most of life on the planet comes to an end.
And so that sort of schedules a change in the garden.
As life begins again on the planet, it develops in a different way. There are no dinosaurs, there are mammals, there are birds, and there are things and there are plants we'd recognise today.
But how do you depict an ancient natural habitat with plants that no longer exist?
The further you go back in time, that becomes more of a challenge. So what you have to do is work with what you've got today. So we chose to use this tree fern as the main sort of canopy element of our forest, because although this species wasn't there during the Carboniferous period, the growth forms of these trees are very much like those that you find in the earliest forests.
But this new urban garden is also about the present and the future, so that ecologists in the making can learn all about the living world.
We've got a free family education programme over summer. Anybody's welcome to come, it's drop-in. So we're also going to have pond dipping. We'll have a closer look at some of the creatures, the weird and wonderful creatures that live beneath the surface of the pond. We will have our volunteers leading activities to give you a reason to look a bit closer at what you might otherwise walk past.
And that's the whole idea, that the garden, with its 2 parts, evolution and discovery, are the 2 newest galleries of the museum, so that the outside space is as much of a draw as the Natural History Museum itself. Alice Bandakravi, BBC London, in South Ken.
You saw it here first, and of course there's a bronze dinosaur.
Next tonight, it's being described as a living laboratory in the heart of London. The Natural History Museum has unveiled new gardens around its building in South Kensington with the aim of telling the story of our changing world, a journey through 2.7 billion years. Sally's been for a look around.
It is quite the transformation. What was once a winter playground is now a nature wonderland.
So the first thing you do when you come out of the tube station is come through this amazing canyon where some of the rocks here are more than 2.5 billion years old. You'll then emerge into this beautiful garden, which, as you can see, is accessible and it's free to come here. And keep your eyes peeled for a rather large diplodocus cast in bronze and called Fern.
You then leave Fern for the other side and enter the Nature Discovery Garden, which 3,500 species call home.
And is that a fish?
So, not a fish, but we have got newts, and that's actually a newt moving through.
They're going to use this plot to study nature like never before in our city.
We're surrounded by nature in towns and cities. We don't always notice it, but it's there. There's a huge variety of wildlife, and we don't know too much about it. But what we do know is that they're important for our well-being. So with this site here, we're going to be intensively studying the whole variety of life we can find.
So this is a microphone, right, Ed? And shall I just put it in the water?
Yep, go for it.
This is what you spend your days doing.
Ed is collecting underwater sound data from animals, but also, believe it or not, plants. Listen to this.
When it's really sunny, you can hear the plants. So when they photosynthesize, they make bubbles. And as those bubbles collapse, and so there's been some work done recently where you can tell what species of plant is what from the sound of these bubbles.
So like basically plant chatter.
Yep.
The museum is working with Amazon Web Services to get all their precious research into one place,
so that scientists can access it and really focus on the analysis, the interpretation, and help us chart that path towards nature recovery.
This place is an oasis in London and a reminder that nature is a great neighbour to have.
Laboratory.
Laboratory. Not lavatory.
Why can't I say that word?
It's okay. Science is a thing.
Yeah. But if you can say the word right.
We'll forgive you, my love.
Thank you.